Back up. Sorry, back up. I'm gonna make this difficult. Sorry.
Let's go. You don't have the authority to arrest U.S. citizens.
A potential New York City mayor and a New York City comptroller, Brad Lander, has been arrested outside of immigration court.
Let's go. You don't have the authority to arrest U.S. citizens.
So here's what we're going to do. Let's work together, watch the raw footage, and see whether or not ICE is allowed to arrest this man or if he was obstructing ICE. Now, before we start the video, make sure to please like the video. It is the #1 way you guys are helping this channel, but it also helps others see the videos as well, and I think people want to see what's happening right now.
Back up. Sorry, back up. I'm gonna make this difficult. Sorry. Back up. Just back up. Let's not cause any problems.
I will let go when you show me the judicial warrant. Where is it?
Sir,
where is the warrant?
I have it in my hand here.
I would like to see the warrant. I would like to see the warrant, and then I will let go. I would like to see the warrant, and then I will let go.
Okay, so two things to point out. #1, an admission of guilt. He is literally saying, I will let go after I see the warrant. Now, we'll get into the warrant later. #2, we can visually see Mr. Lander is holding the illegal immigrant while the ICE officers are trying to detain him.
Take him in. Let's go. You don't have the authority to arrest U.S. citizens. Sir, you don't have the authority to arrest U.S. citizens. You don't have the... I'm not obstructing. I'm standing right here in the hallway. I asked to see the judicial warrant. By asking for a judicial warrant? You don't have the authority to arrest U.S. citizens asking for a judicial warrant.
Stay back, please. Stay back. We go too. Sorry. No way. I'm safe. Where are you taking him? Hello?
Since you have no authority to arrest U.S. citizens, where are you taking me? And with what authority?
Why are you arresting
With what authority?
And where are you taking him? No!
Security details. This #1 is gonna go with him, all right? Hang on, where's #1? Hold on. Brett, this is #1 right here, all right?
Okay, so we have a lot to break down. Now, before we start, make sure you guys please subscribe to my channel. This is what we do here. We cover cases like this all the time. We break down the legality of it, and we hold our elected officials accountable. Let's dig into it.
Take him in. Let's go. You don't have the authority to arrest U.S. citizens. Sir, you don't have the authority to arrest U.S. citizens. You don't have the... I'm not obstructing. I'm standing right here in the hallway.
Okay, so two things. Mr. Lander is saying I'm not obstructing, I'm standing over here, but we already saw in the beginning he admitted to obstructing, and his hands were on the illegal immigrant. But let's get into the second thing he's talking about. You don't have the authority to arrest an American citizen. Now, this is absolutely true, and that's a great thing. We should all not want ICE to arrest American citizens. That's not their job. However, there was an admission of guilt as far as the obstruction, and that is illegal, and if you are an American citizen, you could be arrested for that by ICE. You can go ahead and take a look at these codes, 18 U.S. Code 1512, and you can also take a look at 18 U.S. Code 1505. These will go over in detail what you can and can't do as an American citizen, but generally speaking, it is absolutely illegal to tamper or to obstruct ICE while they're doing their investigation or if they have somebody detained.
I asked to see the judicial warrant. By asking for a judicial warrant? You don't have the authority to arrest U.S. citizens asking for a judicial warrant.
Stay back, please. Stay back. We go too. Sorry. No way. I'm safe.
Now, he was also yelling, hey, where's your judicial warrant? I would have let go if you don't have this warrant. This is one of the biggest pieces of misinformation I have heard throughout all of these cases. ICE does not need a warrant for the majority of their work they are doing, especially in a public hallway outside of a court hearing. This is because, in fact, no judge in this country has the authority to issue a warrant for a civil immigration violation. Congress, by statute, vested this authorization solely to the supervisory immigration officer. So believe it or not, ICE actually signs their own warrants in the general sense. Now, this doesn't mean ICE doesn't need a warrant if they come into your homes. ICE can operate in a public area like the hallway. The only time they need the specific warrant for a specific person is when you see these ICE raids going into a private home. Then they have the warrants. But as far as the civil warrants and needing judicial status or anything like that, they don't need it.
Where are you taking him? Hello?
Since you have no authority to arrest U.S. citizens, where are you taking me? And with what authority?
Why are you arresting me?
With what authority?
And where are you taking him? No!
Security details. This number one is gonna go with him, all right? Hang on, where's number one? Hold on. Brett, this is number one right here, all right?
Now, something else I want to point out, look how many people are in this hallway. It's not only Homeland Security, you also have a bunch of people with camera phones and others in this hallway. This is because, generally speaking, ICE is allowed to operate in these hallways since these are public areas. Now, we can agree to disagree on the morality of this. If an illegal immigrant is going to court and then they walk out and get captured, that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to show you that these are public areas in which ICE does not need a warrant, and you hear people yelling, what authority do you have? It's very, very easy to look this all up. ICE does have the authority to operate in these public areas, and many people don't even realize this, but this is the reality of the situation.
She just. Should we go there? Yeah. What's your job? Is anyone involved in the cool tonight? Judge has a notice. The judge is printing a notice. Judge has a notice. The judge is printing a notice right now. Judge has a notice. Notice of what? Who is your supervisor? Notice of what?
The judge has a notice.
Why are you ignoring the judge's orders? Wait until I speak with your supervisor. Okay, I'll notice of what? The judge is issuing an order. Why are you ignoring the judge's orders?
The judge has a notice. He has a notice.
Now, to show you guys, this is not uncommon. This happened about a month ago in San Diego, where bystanders, again in a public hallway, were trying to tell ICE agents who detained a man, hey, the judge has a notice. But like we talked about before, ICE can come into these areas with their own warrants, and these judicial warrants don't mean a thing. However, bystanders like we're seeing here and in New York City are pretty much saying the same thing. What authority do you have? You're not supposed to be here. And unfortunately, many people don't know the laws.
Please don't touch me. Please don't touch me. Please don't touch me. You've touched me with your arm. You can't do that.
You're violating.
You can't do that.
Fucking kidnapping, man. Y'all are going to be held accountable for this. You know that, right? There's going to be a day where you're fucking held accountable for crimes against humanity. This is a kidnapping. You know how many years in prison people get for kidnapping? 20 years. You want to go to prison for 20 years? Keep going with your shit.
I have the notice.
There's a notice right here. There's a notice.
Okay, we already know that too. We know that too.
That's a notice from the judge.
Now, another case we've been following, and I promise this all ties together, is the Judge Hannah Dugan case from Wisconsin. Remember, she was in trouble for helping evade ICE by getting the illegal immigrant to walk out the back door and pass by everyone. The reason why this is relevant is because if Judge Hannah Dugan wins her case, she's saying that she was just doing official judicial acts. If Judge Hannah Dugan wins this case, this means judges will now have the ability to facilitate what's happening in a public hallway. But until she wins her case, this is going to become a common thing. I mean, it's already a common thing, where ICE will be in public hallways and people will either try to obstruct ICE, get in the way of ICE, and we're going to keep seeing these clashes.
Isn't it true that many immigration violations don't involve criminal prosecutions?
Yes, that's correct. It is important to keep in mind that the underlying basis for a non-citizen's removability may be due to some criminal violation, but the removal warrant used by ICE is not a criminal warrant signed by a federal judge. In fact, the removal warrant used to process the non-citizen's removal is signed by an ICE official based on a finding that the person is removable from the United States.
So, John, what are the differences between a criminal warrant issued by a federal court and a removal warrant issued by an ICE official?
Jenna, the primary difference is that, unlike a criminal warrant issued by a federal court, a removal warrant does not authorize the ICE officer to enter into an REP area to execute the warrant.
So what does that mean to an ICE officer who goes out to execute an ICE administrative removal warrant?
Basically, what this means is the ICE officer has the authority to arrest the person named in the warrant so long as the officer locates the person in a public, non-REP location. For example, the person is located walking down a public sidewalk.
Well, and what would happen if the ICE officer locates the person in an REP area, such as his or her home?
Well, in that case, the administrative removal warrant authorizes the ICE officer to arrest the subject, but not to enter into an REP area, such as his or her home, unless consent to enter is given. If the officer does not have consent to enter, even if the officer knows the person subject to the warrant is inside the home, the officer has no legal authority to enter the home pursuant to that removal warrant.
Now, I do want to point out, I'm making this video like minutes after the fact we heard about this video and this interaction, which means we don't know the exact type of warrant these officers had in the public hallway of the New York City Immigration Courthouse, but I do want to say this. I feel rather confident that the ICE agents, because they were operating in a public area, and because this is a very common occurrence throughout the United States, this is most likely this general warrant you just heard if you are still watching this video. As far as judicial warrants, these are typically reserved for violent criminals, known locations, hiding in a house, or hiding somewhere under a restaurant. But I will tell you this, covering all ICE operations, ICE does not tend to do this because this is very dangerous. There are already very minimum officers. I think there's only like 5,000 ICE agents, so it's very dangerous and not worth the risk to put out those warrants and then risk your officers' lives and others in the area. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned something. Thank you guys for being here. God bless, and we'll see you all later.